Man of Steel. Who's starting?
I've already talked a lot. If you guys want to give your thoughts, not necessarily. Well, I guess you could give your thoughts on the movie, but more so why we think, because we could basically do that for this art, this discussion for every movie that's been out besides Wonder Woman. Why do we think it didn't resonate with critics and audience to the extent that we would expect or hope for? Because we can definitely say it still resonated with the audiences. All the movies have still resonated with the audiences.
At least a portion of them.
Yeah, but not to the full extent that you would expect or hope for with characters this big.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be honest. I'm like the type of fan who I don't really pay attention to directors. I don't really pay attention to all the extra stuff that goes into movies. I kind of just like what I like, and that's kind of it. So when we talk about this, I do want to let people know that I may not mention like a bunch of people's names, but I will give you my opinion and where I kind of base myself off of that. When it comes,
Sai and I are going to be on the same page. You and my friend, you and me.
I got you guys covered.
When it comes to Man of Steel, I think kind of the issue there was the balance of WB deciding, do we want to do a full universe or do we want to keep it singular? You kind of see that issue at the start because they had the success of the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy.
Yeah.
And I think had they maybe done Man of Steel earlier and had Christopher Nolan said, okay, I'm all right with this character being in more of an open world with other characters, it may have been a little bit more successful. Because can you imagine having The Dark Knight follow into a connected Man of Steel after that performance, the second Batman movie that Christopher Nolan did, and then it following into a Man of Steel that was connected? Maybe you don't necessarily put the characters in there yet. Maybe you don't show Batman, but you put little hints that he's there and whatnot. Right. That probably gets fans and critics a little bit more excited that something's going to happen. But when Man of Steel does come out, there's still that kind of WB deciding, do we push this all the way? Like, we see what Marvel's doing, we see what Disney's doing, and it is becoming like a big thing. But is it going to work for us? Because when you think about it, Marvel had the same issue. They did The Incredible Hulk technically before they did Iron Man. And The Incredible Hulk was kind of a standalone. But then with the success of Iron Man and everything that came afterwards, even though they changed the actor of the Hulk, they kind of forced a connection. And fans kind of just took it as, okay, that's what it is.
Yeah.
WB decided not to do that. And it's mainly because of Christopher Nolan not wanting his Batman to be in a full open universe. He wanted it solo. So he kind of forced WB's hand there. But when you think back, you kind of wonder, would everything be the same if that Batman and the Superman we have now were in a connected universe? Would fans have been more interested? Would it have worked out a little bit better? Who knows?
I think 100% it would have had a big impact. So where was that? What was the point I was going to make? Don't laugh at me. No, go ahead. Now I've completely lost my train of thought. So do you have anything you'd like to say?
Sure. I mean, I kind of agree with, I don't know what you were going to say, but I think it would have made a difference because I think of people that don't like Man of Steel, I feel like a lot of it is because they just don't like that version of Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And who he is, like he's new, he's not like happy-go-lucky Superman that a lot of people are used to. So if it had been tied to the realistic, real, like grounded Nolan Batmans, and then we introduced this, I feel like people have been like, all right, yeah, this makes sense, it all fits. So I feel like people would have been more accepting of a different version of Superman as opposed to a Man of Steel at this point kind of standing on its own because we don't have anything yet, just being a darker, more real grounded, not necessarily the comic book Superman that a lot of people are familiar with.
Well, I don't want to say comic book Superman because that's the comic book Superman is.
I said comic book, people are familiar with, like the general notion that people have of a comic book Superman that they're familiar with. Does that make sense?
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what the issue lies in. Most people don't read comic books, and so most people's perception of Superman come from the 70s with Christopher Reeve. And while that's a great film for that time, it's definitely outdated.
Yeah,
it definitely doesn't
age
fit
well. It did not.
It does not age well. 100%.
It doesn't, and it doesn't fit a real world setting very well. So like Man of Steel is close to my heart, so it definitely bugs me the amount of negative attention it's gotten, because I think it's just honestly just at the end of the day it's just kind of misunderstood, really. Because people just have to look at this from the senses. This is basically, because we never see explicitly how much time has passed, but you have to imagine it's no more than a week, I would say, between the time Superman or Clark has gotten that suit or figured out who he is, found the fortress ship, gotten his suit, and then within days, Zod's here.
Yeah.
So he's not Superman yet. It's just the first step. I think that's another reason why it's called Man of Steel. He's not Superman yet. It's just the process beginning of him getting there. And so I think
it's just the start of his arc.
Yeah, and so it really bugs me because this will also make sense with some of the other movies we're about to talk about, but I feel like that one more so than any of the other movies, at least the theatrical, what we saw in the theaters, more so than any of these other ones that haven't done well so far, is you can say you don't like it, you don't care for that interpretation of the character, but I feel like if you're being, true
and objective,
you can't objectively call it bad. It's not a bad movie. There's not bad acting. There's not bad editing. There's only one line in there that I think is god awful.
And I go with two. I think there's two bad things. I hate the way. Hopefully, do we have to do a spoilers thing right now?
I think
it's been out.
I feel like it's been out long enough that if you have
5 years almost.
Okay.
So we're
because the line that you're talking about, the kissing aliens, whatever that nonsense was at the end. I don't know the exact line. You probably do though. What is it?
Get it. Like it's like Lois says. It's all down. They say it's all downhill after the first kiss, and then Clark, as the buildings are still kind of falling around them, says, "I'm pretty sure that only counts when you're kissing a human," and it's just like
he does that same look every single time we watch the movie or we talk about it. Like it's seriously that look every single time. He can be in another room and it'll be happening, and I'll look and find it. And he just does the exact same thing. The head shake, the hand, it all. It happens every single time. So that's super funny. My other big problem with that movie, and this is it really, is I hate the way Jonathan dies. It's fine if you want him to die saying, "No, Clark, keep your secret. I'll be the sacrifice." That could have been done in so many other ways.
Execution's bad.
Yeah. The idea, fine. Execution, no. Because I'm sitting here, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Idiots. Everybody's idiots.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's it for me.
I agree. I forget about that point. I agree with you on that. The execution. I have no problem with them keeping that theme.
Yeah.
The way they accomplished it, not so great.
Yeah, horrible. But other than that, I love Man of Steel. I liked it. Okay, so I was never a Superman fan. I was always the type of person that was like, Superman, he sucks. He's overpowered.
Right? Right?
Okay, wait. Hold on, don't get too excited because I've changed my ways.
She saw the light, so.
I've seen the light. Okay, so I'm an Aquaman fan. First and foremost, I'm an Aquaman fan.
Yeah, I've heard, and I don't get that. I don't get that.
Of course you don't. Nobody gets it. It's fine. And then after Aquaman, Batman was always my favorite. After that, it was it. And so that's always how I felt. I was like, no, he's overpowered. This is ridiculous. And then this one starts happening. And so, but what I'm saying basically is I liked Man of Steel on its own before I came around to the idea that there's more to Superman than his overpowered, this is ridiculous, it's rigged, there's no challenge-ness. So I feel you, but I have turned around. I'm not gonna say come to the light because that's just ridiculous.
She came to the light.
But
I was gonna say save. Like, you don't go too in depth right now with your response. Save it for when we have our debate. You don't want to give me, a bunch of time to just be completely calculated and ready to, have rebuttals, just all ready to go for you. So I'm just saying, for the sake of the debate, don't unload completely, because I'll be ready to fire back.
I know, so I'm not gonna go into it.
Okay.
I'm gonna try my hardest not to just shit all over Superman right now. But I do want to say, even as a fan who didn't really care for Superman as a character, Man of Steel is a good movie. Like, I will admit it is hard to watch it and by itself just be like, this kind of sucks. I understand for maybe the timing of it, fans were kind of like, what's going on here? But watching it now, it's a really good movie. It's done really well.
It's super good.
Like you guys said. Go ahead.
Sorry, keep going, my bad. No, go for it.
Like you guys said, like, the acting is done really well. The CGI compared to even some stuff done today is pretty darn good. And the story of it is really good. And like you say, it is kind of like an early Superman. Like, he's not really the Superman that a lot of people know, because most people don't read the earlier, or not the earlier stuff, I should say, like the origin stories of Superman. They don't really read that much of it. So it isn't something that fans are used to. I was thinking when we were talking about how fans aren't accustomed to that Superman, it kind of made me think of how me and Chuck, we've talked about the Star Wars prequels and how everybody hates Anakin. But if you look at that story, everything Anakin goes through, I would love for you to go through that and not end up in Anakin's position at the very end. It's really hard to look at a character and see what they're going through, and then at the end not understand why they ended up at that point. The same thing with Superman. He went through a lot in 10 days maybe.
Yeah,
it all went to crap real quick.
Right?
It all went bad real fast.
It's a 10-day thing, and you're expecting him to be, this wonderful, happy-go-lucky, everything's positive person. It's just not how it's going to work out. But people have to get used to that. And I do think, I guess we could talk about kind of what happens after that with the other WB movies, kind of her moving forward. Because after that, it's really disappointing to see what WB did. It really, to watch Man of Steel and then have everything that's come after that, it's like, you guys had something really special. And even with the castings that have come after that, I love basically all their castings, except for maybe The Flash.
You don't like Ezra Miller?
So here's the thing. I think my biggest thing with him isn't actually him. Is that I watch Justice League, and the way that he runs pisses me off so much that I hate his whole character. It's so ugly to me that I just can't enjoy his character.
I can understand it, especially that, the ending clip where it has a little montage of all the heroes. It's a really weird gate or whatever. He's
and I'm wondering, is he actually running that way? Is that just how he runs? Because some people are just real awkward runners. Where, you see somebody and you're like, ooh, I don't think you're athletic. You can just kind of tell.
It's if you're going to have somebody do a speedster character, at least make them look okay running. That's the main thing. And he just doesn't look good running, so I just can't. Yeah. But so it's not really him. It's just, I can't get with that one aspect, and it's the biggest aspect of his character.
Yeah. I felt that same way too, though, when I was having it. I was like, that's not the best. And at first, I couldn't figure out what it was that I did. That it was just weird and off, and I was like, it's just, I don't know if it's his arms where he's whoosh,
it's
weird. I don't know what it is.
Makes circles.
I was
limbs.
Oh, maybe
the trailer I was watching, I was like, something is off about this. It just does not look right. And then you see the full movie, and you're like, oh, Why does he look like he's ice skating on like the ground?
That is it. That is 100% it.
Like,
holy crap! Yes,
like if
that's
you
what
ever
it looks like. It looks like he's speed skating.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you've ever seen like those speed skaters, that's what he looks like he's doing. But there's no ice anywhere. What are you doing, man? Like,
that's super funny. You nailed it. Like, that's it. That's what I've been trying to look for. That's it.
To play devil's advocate, though, I don't know. Well, I haven't seen the special features yet, but if they talk about that at all, I mean, if we get some explanation that they decide to do that way because they actually want to reference that and basically kind of say that he kind of glides through the speed force, so it's like if they did an alternate take. I'm not saying it like it works for me then, you know what I'm saying? But I'm saying I can accept that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if they try to explain it scientifically, you know, I might be okay with that, but it looks so bad. I
agree. It does not look good.
It's like, I wonder, like, how do you go in a room and edit and look at stuff and you see that and you're like, you know what? That is okay. That is perfectly fine.
I think, honestly, I think this whole DC situation, I don't think anybody, I think people probably feel that way and then realize they don't really have a choice about it, honestly.
You know what?
To some extent.
So, growing up with, like, black parents, there's certain things that they do that, like, you just kind of don't understand. I feel like when it comes to the editing of WB and the DCEU, it's kind of like when you go to your parents and you ask them for help and they don't get it, but they don't want to tell you they don't get it, so they just stand over you and they're like, why don't you get this? It should be this. It should do that. And WB just kind of stood over everybody. And then like, no, it should be. And the directors and the editors are like, but this, no. And you're just like, no, this doesn't make any sense. But then they force it. And then you end up getting an F in the class. And they're like, why'd you get an F in the class? And because, you know, I asked for help, but you didn't know what the hell going on. So I didn't learn nothing. That's the DCEU to me.
And I think that's an excellent way to segue into Batman v Superman.